Hey guys, it's Kate. I hope you're having a good day. I'm here with another watercolor painting, and I'm actually trying some new paper that I got. I got this block a while ago. It's Fluid 100 and it's 100% cotton paper, and I'm working on a 4 by 6 inch 140 pound. And I got this at Jerry's Artorama, and I had painted on one sheet before already, and I'll talk about it a little bit, but I wanted to try it with an actual painting besides just doing some swatches and brush strokes like I did on the first sheet. So I was kind of in the mood to play around with my Payne's Gray, so I broke out my Winsor & Newton Cotman colors along with some Payne's Gray I had in the lid, and I wanted to make kind of a dark, abstract-y watercolor atmospheric landscape. That's a mouthful. And it was a lot of fun to make. I broke out my brush and I'm kind of tilting my block just so that the water can kind of flow down, and I end up kind of propping it up later on in the video, but for right now I'm just kind of lifting it up. And I'm starting with the sky area, adding that Payne's Gray and some Purple Lake from the palette, and just letting that kind of flow down. I want to make kind of like stormy clouds and just very kind of loose painting, very abstract-y, and just wanted to really see how this paper handles. So as I'm working on my first layer, I'm making sure to get it nice and dark at the top, but I want to leave myself some light sky space before I get to the land, so I have some contrast there. And then I'm going to start putting in that Purple Lake and some other colors down at the bottom. And this was a pretty quick painting, actually. It lasted, it probably took me about 10 or 15 minutes to do, but I did it in 3 layers. So this is that first layer going down, and I just want to make sure to get it nice and dark and get the colors I want in there. So one thing I was testing with the Fluid 100, which the paint goes down on it really nicely, and I have a good amount of time to work with it before it starts to dry. And one thing, and I don't know if it matters to you, but I tried to do some lifting after the watercolor dried on another sheet of paper, and it is probably the hardest to lift of all the papers I've ever tried so far. So if you tend to lift color, with your paintings that you do, this might not be your favorite kind, but if that doesn't really matter to you, then it's actually great paper to work with. So I'm working on my second layer, and I squirted out some fresh Payne's Gray from the tube to go in much darker, and I'm going back into that Purple Lake, and I sprayed down my paper a little bit to get it moist, and I'm going back in with that second layer. And the bottom layer just really stays put. It does not lift. So you can see I'm kind of curving the clouds downward a little bit. I'm kind of trying to give them the shape like they might be heavy with rain. And I'm also going in with my burnt umber and a little bit of the other colors to go in down at the bottom for some of the landscape. And I'm keeping everything pretty dark, and where the top of the landscape meets the bottom of the sky, it's going to have a lot of extra contrast there. But as you can see, the colors blend really nicely on the paper, and I've got it propped up a little bit on a little book, so it is still at an angle so the paint can flow downward. And I just love how the colors blend on this paper. So I went into some yellow ochre, some sap green, and some more burnt umber, I think. and just adding some hints of greenery down at the bottom to give the landscape some color interest. And like I said, this is very abstract. I just wanted to play around with some darker colors and do sort of a dark painting today. And I really love the Cotman Payne's Gray. Using a lot of that Purple Lake down at the bottom and mixing that green with it really makes it a nice dark rich color with the complementary color mixing. And you can see just some hints of the greens and yellows, but very much in shadow. It's a dark day. So I took my smaller brush and I'm going in with just some pure Payne's Gray and mixing a little bit of the other colors in there too to get some nice shadowy trees and foliage and shrubs to give the bottom of the landscape a little bit of more interest. And then I'm also going back in over to the right to add some more detail to those hills in the background. And I really love that Purple Lake in there, so I'm adding some more kind of undiluted into the foreground area. Like it could be wildflowers or maybe a path or anything like that. And so once it dries, which the sky dried really nicely, I thought I'm going back in just for some finishing touches. The whole landscape was kind of loose and very flowy, so I wanted to go in with just a few harder edges. So I took that Payne's Gray again with my small brush, and I'm putting in some grasses right at the very front just to give it some extra detail and interest, and then actually add a little bit more contrast even still down at the bottom. And it turned out to be such a dreamy landscape. I really liked the paper. I liked working with the paints, and this is kind of a different experiment for me. So I really enjoyed the whole thing, and I hope that maybe you got a couple of ideas out of it too. I like how the paint dried in those hills to the right where it almost looks like rocks or something, the way some of that color kind of dripped a little bit down, you can see. And I like how that Purple Lake dried also. And then I will cut this out, but first I'll do a close-up so you can see, and it really turned out nicely with some nice rich color. And I hope you enjoyed watching and hopefully also painting along. But if you have not tried this paper, it's definitely worth trying. And so let me know what you think. And until next time, keep creating.